what I would say is when we are squatting, we definitely want to feel our quads. We definitely want to feel our glutes. We definitely want to feel that tension back behind our armpits, around our mid-back, and our core up at the top. We want to feel all of that. What are you noticing? What are you observing? Whatever that is, you want to jot it down. You want to make the memory. And if for some reason you're not feeling those muscles talking to you, then something's off. How to squat and deadlift a kettlebell. This is going to be great if you are brand new to strength training, or maybe you just haven't made a whole lot of progress and you're looking to see if maybe there's just a little piece that you might have missed along the way. So the big difference between your squat and your deadlift is what we're trying to work. Now, both of these exercises are compound exercises, meaning that we are truly working our entire body while we're performing them. However, when we are doing your squat, we are going to work some more of the muscles on the front side of our body. And when we're doing our deadlift, we are going to be working some more of the muscles that are more so prominent on the back side of our body. Now, the easiest way to remember the difference between a squat and a deadlift really is from Lil Jon. You remember like 365, damn she fine? That's in it. Our squat is when we actually get low, and our deadlift is really when we back it up. Now, it's more nuanced than that, and I'm gonna get into it with you today. But if you know the difference between those two moves, you're already ahead of the curve. Okay, fireworks, I love it. Okay, so number one, when you are seeing people squatting, deadlifting, relatively heavy weight, and you're thinking to yourself, how the heck are they doing that? Tension and breath are two things that you're probably not even aware of that those people are very much aware of. So let's talk about tension first. I want you to try something with me. Find a spot on the floor and just stand here. Your feet are hip width distance apart. Don't overthink it, you're just standing. And as you're here, I want you to notice, what do I feel in my legs? Anything? Okay, me standing here right now, I don't feel anything in my legs other than I'm standing here, okay? Now, what would happen if as you stand here, you press your big toes and your pinky toes down into the ground? And what would happen if you try to rip the floor apart as intensely as you can? Okay, now what do you feel throughout your legs? I feel a lot. I feel tension in my quads, my outer thighs, my glutes. I feel the arches of my feet lifting. I feel this fiery sensation. You can relax. Can you feel the difference? Okay, people who are deadlifting relatively heavy weight, squatting relatively heavy weight, they are creating tension. You can't see it, but you can feel it, right? Okay, so that's part one. Now we also need upper body tension. Now, given the exercise, the way you create tension, it might be a little bit different. This is very much a generalized version, and it's gonna work as we go through the deadlift and the squat today. But I want you to take your upper body, allow your arms to just hang out by your side. Okay, perfect, in my Zoom room right now. Okay, from here, what do you feel? What do you notice? I'm gonna give you some clues. What do you feel in your arms? What do you feel back behind your armpits? What do you feel, my ladies, your legging height to right underneath your shoulder blades? My gentlemen, think belly button height, down right beneath your shoulder blades. What do you feel as you're just hanging out here? Not a whole lot, right? Okay, perfect. So now to create some upper body tension, you're going to actively think about drawing your shoulders down. Actively pull your shoulders back, and now actively try to squeeze your armpits shut. What do you feel? Think about it, notice it, relax. relaxed. We're gonna try that again. And if that was really challenging in terms of maybe you don't feel a whole lot of anything, grab a towel. A hand towel is perfect. And you're just gonna hold the towel in both hands right in front of your hips. And we're gonna do the same cueing in again, but instead I want you to just focus on ripping the towel apart. So shoulders down, shoulders back, rip the towel apart. Okay, hang out here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and shake it out. Okay, what did you feel? For me, when I do that, I start to feel my triceps. I start to feel tension back behind my armpit and my lat. I feel mid-back contracting. That's how we are going about creating our upper body tension. Again, you might not be able to see it on someone, but you can feel it. And that is one of the biggest secrets to being able to lift relatively heavy weight without hurting yourself, being able to create that tension. Now, the next piece of the puzzle is breath. So let's take a couple of inhales and exhales. And as you're doing this, just notice, what do I feel? What do you feel in your core? What do you feel throughout your back? What's it sound like? Okay, now try this for me. I want you to be loud as you exhale. I'm gonna come a little bit closer so you can hear it better. Okay, try that a couple of times and just notice, what do you feel in your core? What do you hear? What's it sound like to you? What do you feel? There's a little something more other than just like hanging out and breathing, am I right? Okay, but now we gotta take it further. So I want you to imagine that you're trying to hold a fart, yes, I said that, while aggressively exhaling like a snake. The sound that you're gonna try to make is TST. Okay? Listen to me a couple of times. Okay? Can you hear a difference? Okay. I want to do it one more time, and I want you to pay really close attention to what you see in my stomach. There's a very aggressive contraction that's taking place as I'm exhaling. Notice what it looks like. Okay, you see it? So when we have this aggressive exhale, it's helping us to create thoracic pressure. It's going to end up helping us lift heavier weight, and it's also going to protect our low back so that we don't get injured. So now I want you to try it. And remember, I can't hear you. If you're with other people, you know, they might like look at you. If you have a dog near you, I guarantee your dog is going to be like, what the fuck is going on? But it's okay. You can be loud. So let's try it. Again, when you do this, you want to think about tightening up, holding a fart. You're going to take a deep breath in. You're trying to exhale like you're hissing, like a snake. The sound is TST. When you make this exhale, notice, what do I feel throughout my abdominals? Are you ready? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Take your breath and try to let it out. Okay, let's try it a couple more times. And when you do this, you want to try to make that exhale as even as possible. So here's the example of it being even versus the example of it not being even. Even, not even. You see how it's like kind of jumbly? You want to think it's the same color, it's the same thickness, it's the same whatever, but it's the same throughout. Let's try it one more time. See if you can exhale for a count of 3. So it's gonna sound like this. Deep breath in, exhale. Okay? All right, you try. Deep breath in, exhale for 3, 2, 1. Okay? Now, when you're doing this, if you're starting to notice, I feel kind of lightheaded, it's too aggressive. Dial it back just a little bit. You want this to feel intense enough that you can feel the contraction throughout your abdominals. You can hear the hiss, but it's not so aggressive that you're like, I think I'm gonna pass out. Okay? Let's try it one more time. Deep breath in. Exhale for 3, 2, 1, wrap. Okay. So again, when you are watching people on social media, maybe you're even watching me squat and deadlift, there is tension, there's total body tension, and the breath is there. If we don't have these pieces, it's going to make going about lifting something that is relatively heavy for us feel nearly impossible, or it's potentially going to cause some pain. So we need these pieces, and everything that I'm going to tell you moving forward about the deadlift, about the squat, it goes without saying, we need total body tension in the upper body and the lower body, and I will cue you in for how we do that when we get there. And you also need to make sure we have the right breath supporting us. Now, when it comes to the world of breathing with lifting, there's different schools of thought, but for anybody who is just getting started with the kettlebell, doing basic patterns like squatting and deadlifting, this is going to be your best bet in order to make progress and stay safe. Okay, so let's talk about the deadlift. So remember, 3, 6, 5, damn sheet 5. This is backing it up. Twerking is very much the vibe. Also, just being like in an athletic position is the vibe. So when we set up for our deadlift, there's one rule that is kind of like a general rule that we want to follow regardless of how tall you are, how long your limbs are, because depending on your limb length, depending on your height, your setup is probably going to look a little bit different than mine or than your best friend's. But what needs to happen is we need our shoulders to always be higher than our hips. We need our hips to always be higher than our knees. And we need our knees in line, if not slightly behind the balls of our feet. So look at my setup. Before I even go over to the kettlebell, my shoulders are higher than my hips are higher than my knees, and zoom, let me make sure you can see my feet. My knees are in line with the balls of my feet. Now, when we get into that position, before we even create our tension, we should feel a slight stretch reflex in our hamstrings, right back here. Now, it's not gonna be this crazy stretch because I'm not doing the Jersey Turnpike. I'm backing it up. I wanna feel a slight stretch reflex in my hamstrings. You feel me on that? Okay, so let's just try to find that position for a second. And if you are on screen, get close enough that you can see what's going on as you notice what it is you feel. So shoulders higher than hips, hips higher than knees, knees in line, if not slightly behind the balls of your feet. As you're in this position, just notice, what do you feel? And if it's taking you a couple of moments to figure it out, let it take you a couple of moments. But when we're down there, you might feel a little effort in the quads, you might feel your glutes, hamstrings. Now, our legs, yes, when we're in this position, and definitely depending on what our movement has looked like up until this point, you might feel a little bit more of one thing versus the other. But what I would say from a percentage standpoint is when we're just here before we even creating our tension, majority hamstrings, then the glutes, and then the quads. If our knees go just a little bit too far forward, immediately we're gonna feel more in our quads than our hamstrings or our glutes, and that's not what we want right now. Okay, we want hamstrings, then glutes, then quads. Cool? Okay, so now let's figure out how to create our tension. Before we even go over to the kettlebell, if you do have a hand towel, this is a great time to pull it out. And if you are somebody who has longer legs, your feet are probably gonna be a little bit wider than hip width distance. So play with that, okay? I'm not gonna tell you it has to be one particular way, but rule of thumb when we're deadlifting, we do wanna think hip width distance apart. But again, if you do have longer legs, go a little bit wider. It will probably feel a lot better on your body. Okay, so as we get into our position, our hip hinge, that's what we're gonna call this moving forward. As we get into our hip hinge, I wanna think about pressing my big toes down, my pinky toes down, and I'm ripping the ground apart. I'm gonna pull my shoulders down, back, and rip my towel apart. And then I'm gonna find shoulders higher than hips, hips higher than knees, knees in line, if not slightly behind the balls of my feet. As I'm down here right now, I don't know about you, but my whole body starts to fire up because I'm in the position and I'm creating all of my tension. Can you feel that? If you can feel that, you're on the right page. If you can't feel that just yet, you want to practice it. And I'll do this with some of my newer clients where we just like find the position and notice what we're feeling for about 10 seconds. We might repeat that 3 times before we actually get into our deadlifting work. Okay, so now let's move on to using our kettlebell. When it comes to setting up your kettlebell deadlift, the setup has to be this way. It does. And again, there can be some nuances, and I'm gonna get there in just a second. But we want the kettlebell on the ground. We want the horns directly in line with our ankle bones. Not the arch of our foot, not in front of our feet, ankle bones. And the reason I pause for a moment is because if you are somebody who you're not just trying to necessarily lose, 10, 20, 30 pounds, maybe you have a lot of weight to lose, it's probably gonna be really uncomfortable for you to get this kettlebell in between your ankle bones all the way on the ground for this position. And in that case, you just wanna get it as close to being in between your ankle bones as possible. You might even need to elevate it up on a box or a couple of books. That's all totally cool. And if, as I'm saying this right now, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I might be one of those people who actually does need a little bit of who does need a little bit of an adjustment, make sure to get into the Zoom room next time so that we can walk through your specific form feedback for a particular exercise, okay? All right, but getting back to just breaking it down, I want the kettlebell horns right in between my ankle bones. From here, I'm gonna create my tension. Big toes, pinky toes pressing down. I'm ripping the floor apart. Already, my legs, they're on fire. Shoulders down, shoulders back, armpits squeeze shut. I find my hip hinge. My legs are firing up. I feel my hamstrings. I feel the tension throughout my back. I feel back behind my armpits. Okay. That's where every rep starts and finishes. Shake your head, yes, you got that. Great. So, when I get to the top of my deadlift, I'm trying to hit a plank position. The only difference is my hands are down in front of my hips instead of being up here. But as if I was actually in a plank, I want to think about maintaining that same straight line. So as I get to the top, I'm squeezing my glutes. I like thinking about this as if I'm wearing a belt buckle, and I'm trying to tip my belt buckle up. And just try that for a second. If you're just standing here, what happens if you tip your belt buckle up? You kind of start to like hide your butt instead of thinking like big juicy oranges. We're thinking like shriveled up grapes. Like that's where we're going. When you do this, you should start to feel a lot of tension in the glutes and specifically like the back and underside. And you should also start to feel a contraction in your lower abdominals, okay? So as we stand up, I'm looking for my glutes and I'm looking for my lower abdominals. And I'm just staying in this very straight line. Notice I'm not leaning back. There's no arch, straight line. I want to feel abs. I want to feel ass. Okay. Watch a couple of reps and then you're gonna go. I will walk you through it and then we move on. Sound good? All right, feet are a little bit wider than hip width distance apart because I got those long legs. Shoulders higher than hips, hips higher than my knees. My knees are in line, if not slightly behind the balls of my feet. My toes are pressing down. I'm ripping the floor apart. Shoulders down, shoulders back, armpit shut. I'm gonna exhale as I stand. Tight glutes, raising at the top. And inhale as I lower. Voila. Now it is your turn. I know there's a lot of information I've already thrown at you. There's no expectation for anything to be perfect. When it comes to learning a new skill, you have to learn the new skill. So try your best. Let's see what you have been able to absorb up until this point, and then I'll walk you through it. So right now, just on your own, grab your kettlebell, get it in between your ankle bones. Let me set you up for it. You'll try about 3 reps on your own. I will go based off of those in the Zoom room right now, and then we'll move on, okay? All right. So, kettlebell. The horns are right in between your ankle bones. Yes. Shoulders higher than hips, hips higher than your knees. Knees in line, if not slightly behind the balls of your feet. You know you have the right position if you feel that slight stretch reflex in your hamstrings. Okay. Toes are pressed down. Ripping the ground apart with your feet. Legs are on fire. Shoulders down, shoulders back. Squeezing your armpit shut. Even thinking about breaking the kettlebell apart. Long exhale as you stand like the hissing snake. Yes. And inhale as you lower it back down. You got this. Try a couple more reps. And then remember, every time you get to the top, you want to feel your butt turning into that raisin. And you want to feel lower and upper abdominals. Try one more. Nice. Okay. Set the weight down, shake it out, and I want you to just notice, what did you feel? What did you notice? When we're performing our deadlift, remember, this is a total body exercise. We should feel the majority of our body working. But I would say specifically when we're in that deadlift, we do want to feel hamstring. We do want to feel glute. We do want to feel core. We do want to feel lats. Okay? Try a couple more reps. I'm going to set you up for it. Okay. Kettlebell is in between ankle bones. Shoulders higher than hips, hips higher than knees. Knees in line, if not slightly behind the balls of your feet. Toes pressing down, rip the floor apart. Shoulders down, shoulders back, armpit shut. Deep belly breath in. Exhale like you're hissing. Every time you get to the top, you're looking for upper and lower abdominals to contract. Every time you get to the top, you're looking for your glutes to contract. Try one more. Man, those are even the Zoom room. You look so freaking good. Set it down. Nice. Okay, what did you notice? What did you feel? Make a mental note. You could tell me right now, it feels like Captain Crunch. And I would be like, okay, I have no fucking idea what that means, but so long as you're making a memory of this is what it feels like in my body, that's the win. So we're gonna move on to the squat. So the deadlift is an exercise that really hits a lot of the muscles on the backside of our body, AKA our posterior chain. Our squat is still gonna work those muscles, but we're gonna get a little bit more front body action. And specifically what I mean by that, in doing the goblet squat, you are gonna feel more in the front portion of your torso, up in your core, and you are gonna feel more going on in your quads. At least that's what we're going to be going for. Because again, when it comes to squatting, there is some nuance, and I'm sure somebody would love to make the argument right now that it's more glutes than quads, and listen, it's nuanced. Our goal in doing this goblet squat is to make sure you feel a lot more of the effort in your quads than you just did in your deadlift. Give me a head nod, you're with me. Okay, so when it comes to doing our squat, instead of thinking about backing it up, we want to think about being an elevator. And we're trying to move straight down, straight up. Okay? Straight down, straight up. Now, I want you to try something. And if you are somebody who does not currently foam roll, if you are somebody who has had a C-section or a lot of abdominal surgeries, what I'm about to ask you to do might feel somewhat impossible. And again, in that case, I would encourage you, make sure you get into the Zoom room next time so I can give you the feedback about the tweaks that you need to make for your form. Because when we have some other variables happening that maybe not every single person has gone through, it just changes our approach to being able to do an exercise a particular way. Okay, so I want you to think about leading with your knees instead of your hips. Now I'm gonna over-exaggerate this, like extremely over-exaggerate it. If I lead with my knees, this is what it looks like. Knees, 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 knees. Okay, knees can't go anymore. Now I have to hinge at my hips. And it keeps me very vertical in my torso. Whereas, I don't know if you've seen this, but something that's really common is you'll see people trying to squat a kettlebell and it kind of looks like this. And that's not what we're trying to do. We want to keep things as vertical as possible. We want to keep things as vertical as possible to get as much action in our quads as we can. So you do not need to be aggressive with the knees leading, but we do want to make sure my knees are moving relatively sooner than my hips go back. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's just try the motion a couple of times body weight, and then I'll clue you in for the breath and the tension. I'm standing here, my feet are hip width, maybe a little bit wider. And for anybody who has very tight hips, doing a slight tweak of turning out your toes can be helpful. If you don't need them to turn out, it would be better if you could keep them parallel, but you can play with it. Excuse me. But my feet hip width distance apart. I'm looking straight ahead. My knees start the motion, my hips follow, and then I come back up. Ideally, when it comes to your squat, we do want to hit 90. Now, will this look different for you versus me versus somebody else who has like very different limb length? Yeah, it's gonna look a little bit different, but you know you are in the right position if, as we get down, we're feeling more of the effort in your quads than anywhere else. I would say it's gonna be quad, then glute, and then you might even feel some work in the hamstrings as well. Okay, are you ready to add in the tension and the breath and then the kettlebell? Great. So our tension, I want you to think of it very much the same as what we were doing with our deadlift, but instead of just ripping the ground apart, I want you to think, I'm gonna give you a couple of things to think about. As you hang out here right now, press your toes down rip the floor apart. And now, what happens if you think about externally rotating from your hips? Almost as if there's a band wrapped around your thigh and it's being pulled out and back. What's that feel like? Toes down, rip the ground apart, externally rotating from my hips. What I start feeling right off the bat, outer portion of my glutes. Not so much the back and under, outsides. You can shake it out for a second. Notice what you feel. Let's try it again. Toes down, rip the floor apart, externally rotating from my hips. And then as you're here, can you think about driving your knees out? What do you feel? Okay, that's what we're looking for as we move up and down in the squat. The other thing that we're going to be looking for in terms of our upper body tension, we're still going to think shoulders down, shoulders back, armpits shut. But now what's really cool is I have my elbows tight to my side. And I'm going to pull these puppies in as tightly as I can. The tighter you can make your body, the more control you're going to have over you and the bell. Okay. Oh, and then before we actually pick up the bell, breath is the same as our deadlift. We'll inhale on the way down, long exhale on the way up. And I think that's all you really need for right now. Now to get the kettlebell into position, we're gonna do something called a high pull, which is basically doing a very fast deadlift with a loose grip so that the kettlebell glides into place. This looks a lot simpler than it is, and we will totally do another breakdown on this at another date. But just for you to see it from straight on. From the side, notice vertical torso, my knees lead. Okay, your turn. So let's get you set up into position. Go find your hip hinge as if you are about to deadlift the kettlebell. And then I want you to find your tension, stand up quick, and just try to get the kettlebell into your goblet position. Okay? Do it, do it, do it. Here we go. Okay. You're gonna lead with your knees. Lower yourself down, looking straight ahead, and then stand back up. Try 2 more. As you're doing this, you are externally rotating from your hips. You're driving your knees out. You're squeezing fireworks. There we go. Celebration. You are squeezing your armpits shut. Your shoulders are down. Your shoulders are pulled back. And we have that aggressive exhale. As you get to the top position, you can feel upper and lower abdominals contracting. Fantastic. Okay, set it down, shake it out. Nice. Okay, what are you noticing? What are you feeling? Okay, again, make that mental note. What I would say is when we are squatting, we definitely want to feel our quads. We definitely want to feel our glutes. We definitely want to feel that tension back behind our armpits, around our mid-back, and our core up at the top. We want to feel all of that. What are you noticing? What are you observing? Whatever that is, you want to jot it down. You want to make the memory. And if for some reason you're not feeling those muscles talking to you, then something's off. And it could be a form thing. It could also be that maybe a particular muscle needs to get rolled or released. And you don't necessarily know what the fix is unless you have somebody who's watching you who can actually give you that feedback. So if you do want that feedback, make sure that you DM me so that you can come into the Zoom room and you can get some personalized feedback. Okay? I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for tuning in. If this episode hit home, don't forget to leave a rating and review. Women are stronger together. So share this with a woman who you want to see rise. When we embrace positive takeaways, we level up, and when we share them, we change the world. Follow us on Instagram at The Dangerous Women Podcast and let us know what you want to hear next. And remember, dangerous women redefine wellness and the world. So be fierce, be authentic, be dangerous.